The Cubs Sox series, maybe even less interesting than their first meeting of the year, was the second meeting that took place on a Saturday and Sunday because,
Uh,
why would they play a Friday game too? I
yeah,
mean,
we complained about that last week. We're recording on a Friday morning, and we realized they were not being. Neither team was playing on a Friday night, which was just bizarre and a beautiful
yeah,
weekend in Chicago. So they just at least they moved the second part of the series to the weekend as opposed to a Tuesday and Wednesday night. I think it was the first time, but of course it was still in May, which isn't typically the greatest of weather. And now this entire series is over with before June even starts, and that's all we have. So, and beyond how mediocre the teams are, everything that happened in this, the worst thing that happened, obviously we'll get to with Tim Anderson's injury, but there's there's no other way to describe this series other than the absolute worst crosstown series in the history of this series. Just no buzz going in, no uh not the same kind of level of interest. There's plenty of interest, but it was just lackluster going in, poorly timed, and then of course the horrible unfortunate injury to Tim Anderson.
yeah, that was a real blow, and it looked pretty bad because he was being helped off the field. Then eventually, as he was being helped off the field, he was putting pressure
Yeah, a little
on the
bit.
leg, so it looked a little bit better.
The groin
Uh,
injury.
it a groin sprain, not
It's a
or
sprain.
strain, a
Strain. Okay.
groin versus a tear. Um, According to TLR, he's looking at 3 weeks versus like 6 to 8. So that is good news. But again, as I pointed out, I thought the series would be split, and it was. And I said
Yeah, you're right.
the Cubs' path to victory was keeping Anderson, Abreu, and Vaughn off the bases because you don't really have much offense after that. And now it's gotten even easier for the rest of the league because now Anderson is gone. I mean, Anderson's gone, but now we got luckily La Pantera is back, and it looks like the shaky Mancada is also back. So maybe now after he gets some more plate appearances, we'll maybe get his bat going too. But it's really Tim is the spark plug to this offense. He's the
Yeah.
catalyst. He kind of makes everything happen. And even though it's not sustainable, but people could argue that so far, Mendick has been, he went like 3 for 5 in his 2 games and filling in for Anderson on the
Mm.
first 2 games of Toronto. But again, it's not sustainable. And as I commented on Twitter yesterday before I was shut down earlier today, the White Sox finished May with a winning record, 3 games over 500. And while that's trending the right direction, you're not going to win a lot of games when your bench players have to play every day,
Yeah.
and that's one of their biggest problems. Um, but we
So,
must go ahead.
well, Anderson, did you say he's out at least
Minimum
three
of at
weeks?
least 3 weeks. That
That's
with the way the injury looks, they think he can be back within 3 weeks, but they also were like, we're not rushing him back either. So,
no. Wow. Well, the other frustrating part, especially of that final game of that series, was
oh,
just inept offense on both sides. As the only 2 runs scored in the first 9 innings were both unearned, and even I think the first run of, I think there was an error in the top of the 10th that led to a run. So it's like nobody really wanted to win that last game for whatever
oh,
reason. It's just a brutal watch.
I mean, it was horrendous.
It was the I mean, in a way, it's the perfect ending to that just horrific series that should not have been played when it was played for all the reasons I stated before.
I mean, I'm shocked that the Sox won. I declared a Cubs win the minute they took a 1-0 lead when the ball
You did.
when Berger misplayed the ball
I
and
remember
they
that
went up the
text.
bag. I'm like, it's over.
And the
Cubs
Cubs eventually had a 2-run lead in extra innings that they
in
pissed
extra
away.
innings.
Yes. They pissed away.
Okay, when
Yeah,
the just so you know this, you got to hear this. So the Cubs take a 3-1 lead, and Robin and I are down the block in a beer garden with TVs. It was beautiful weather.
I think I saw
I,
some photos of
I'm
that
drinking some Fifth
afternoon.
City,
That's
enjoying
what I saw.
the
Yeah.
weather, and they go up 3-1, and we had I thought they were going to lose, not even get to extra innings, so we had already gotten the tab and signed off. When it went 3-1, we left. And I forget, we had to walk over somewhere to get something. And then all of a sudden I get an alert that it's 3-3. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Didn't take
And after
long.
we ran a few errands and got home, we still got to see the
Yeah.
end of the game that no one wanted to win. That eventually, perhaps instead of 5 infielders, they should have went with 6 outfielders for the
Mm,
Jake Berger at bat.
yeah.
I mean, good Lord.
Well, that was game 4 of the series, game 2 of that weekend. Game 3 went a little bit better for the Cubs as TLR decided to leave Johnny Cueto into the 7th inning, and that's where things kind of blew up. And the Cubs eventually won. I think the final was 5-1 eventually.
Yeah. And Wisdom continues to hit Cueto well.
Yes. Yeah, it just seemed kind of obvious that Cueto needed to come out of that game, and obvious to everyone but TLR, I guess. So.